As one of gaming's most recognizable female icons, Lara Croft has been the subject of many debates over the years. Her courageous demeanor and impossibly short shorts have captured the hearts of male and female gamers alike, but like every other long-running series, the franchise has had its ups and downs. Determined to shake things up with their latest adventure, Crystal Dynamics has invited players to explore an unseen side of our heroine. One that's young, terribly unsure of herself, and surprisingly good at taking a beating.
I hate tombs.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, the story of Lara Croft's beginnings is a lot like the television show Lost, though perhaps not quite as compelling. Lara and her crew set out to study some ancient ruins and wind up shipwrecked on an island in the mysterious Dragon's Triangle. Their efforts to escape are mired by setbacks from almost every direction, but the story takes its darkest turn as Lara begins to unravel the mythological forces that brought them there.
The Lost Kingdom.
It's like finding Atlantis.
The storytelling is well-paced and builds enough intrigue to keep you interested for a good 12 to 15 hours, while the writing is on par with what you might find in a blockbuster adventure film. Cheesy at times, sure, but it's a reflection of Lara's own youthful immaturity, something she comes to terms with over the course of the game. Her evolution from weakling into survivor isn't just a plot point though, it's also a blueprint for how the rest of the game is laid out. Now, based on looks alone, it's understandable that some might draw a comparison between this and other more recent action-adventure games, like Uncharted. But what those people would be forgetting is that many of those games took their inspiration from the original Tomb Raiders. Where this one manages to excel over the others is in the intent and purpose with which each of its levels has been designed. Platforming and puzzles blend seamlessly together, and carefully placed zip lines let you truly take in the magnitude of your surroundings. It's easily the best looking Tomb Raider game to date, but the attention to detail is what makes it really stand out. When Lara first arrives on the island, she's ill-equipped, wielding only a pickaxe and a deftly acquired bow and arrow. Despite the game's purported emphasis on survival, hunting and foraging are actually completely optional activities because Lara can't really starve. The only real benefit they serve is to funnel experience points into a minimalistic and wholly unremarkable progression system. Those of you hoping for unique and memorable skills won't find them here. What you will find are boring throwaway skills that serve no purpose other than to increase the rate by which you acquire more skills. Some don't even make sense within the context of the game. If Lara learns early on how to perform stealth kills, why should I waste 4 skill points on 4 slightly different variations of the same finishing move? The lack of depth becomes glaringly obvious towards the end of the game, and the seemingly infinite opportunities for XP, though welcome, preclude almost any variety among skills. Ironically, Lara's most interesting abilities, like shooting rope harnesses and flaming arrows, are acquired through the weapons upgrade system, which later expands to accommodate a handgun, shotgun, and an assault rifle. She can use salvage gathered from crates and enemies to upgrade her weapons and further enhance them by collecting hard-to-find weapon parts. These can be applied at the game's various campsites, which also act as fast travel hubs, allowing her to revisit previously discovered areas. Every so often while exploring, a tomb alert will pop up, giving Lara the option to raid it at her convenience. There aren't too many of these in the game, and in fact, the ones that are there seem incredibly oversimplified. They rarely, if ever, extend beyond a single room, and even with some of the more involved puzzles, the challenge seems to come more from precisely timed platforming than critical problem solving. On the upside, they do give more XP than anything else in the game by far, and they're still a treat to encounter despite their lack of complexity. Exploration aside, I'm surprised by just how well the combat seems to have been implemented. There's a good balance between shooting and stealth, and while it may not allow for a whole lot of creativity on either side, it does do well within its own limitations. The wide open firefights are engrossing, the stealth segments require a fair amount of strategy, and the cover system is one of the best I've seen in a game. Gone are the days of dedicated cover buttons and getting stuck behind walls. Lara can now automatically assume cover just by walking up to it. This keeps the interface empty and clean and makes it easier for you to avoid the blast of enemy explosives.
Run, you bastards! I'm coming for you all!
Now, some of you might disagree with what I'm about to say, and for what it's worth, I fully acknowledge the significance of QuickTime events in the Tomb Raider canon, but stringing 5 of them together just to kill a wolf is excessive. If they were good, I could understand, but wiggling the analog stick left and right and tapping X repeatedly is not anyone's idea of fun, even remotely. Despite their continued use in even the simplest things like opening doors, the quick-time events do at least manage to taper off over time, and gameplay, for the most part, remains a thrilling and well-carved-out experience. I wish I could say the same for the game's multiplayer, though, which is a brand new addition to the series and one that, sadly, provides little distraction beyond the campaign. Deus Ex developer Eidos Montreal took the reins on this portion, and while they do seem to have made earnest efforts to pack a lot of content in, the results feel utterly contrived. All 4 of the modes are just slight variations of more basic ones, like Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag, and none of them offer anything substantive that hasn't been done before and better in another game. If Eidos really wants us to believe this multiplayer was designed with beginners in mind, then maybe don't make it so easy to die within 2 seconds of respawning. Likewise, their efforts to tie the multiplayer in with the campaign seem superficial at best. Playable characters don't differ much beyond appearance, and your progress from the solo campaign can't be imported into the multiplayer. Granted, none of this would matter if the modes were in any way fun or addictive, but alas, the novelty wears off all too quickly. If there's one thing to be learned from this whole multiplayer experience, it's that Lara Croft is more than capable of standing on her own. Despite all these complaints, it's important to note that the core experience in Tomb Raider is still very much an enjoyable one. Yes, the multiplayer feels tacked on, the campaign suffers from some poor design decisions, and the puzzles will disappoint those of you looking for a harder challenge. Underneath all of that, though, there is something about this game that keeps you coming back for more. It's a welcome revival of the Tomb Raider series, and while it may not be the exact one I was hoping for, it's still a damn good jumping off point. I give it a 3 out of 5.